Imagine a world where more women have the time to fully explore their genius. Welcome to She Rebel Radio, the UK's podcast for women leaders and founders ready to unlearn conventional rules and lead their businesses of significance. Hailed for counter-status quo ideas and a whole dose of feminine perspective, this is our International Women's Day series, sponsored by our headline partners, NatWest. My name's Lulu Minns. I host retreats and create spaces for women leaders to explore their genius. And today, I'm going to create that same space right here for you on this podcast. Welcome to episode 114 of She Rebel Radio, Embrace Conviction with Lucy Rogers. Lucy is the co-founder of Soga World, a leading Web3 creative and management agency bridging the gap between music, sport and blockchain technology to create truly impactful cultural moments. She's about to come under the name Third Horizon as she expands into the US market. With over 10 years' experience in the entertainment and media industry, Lucy has a depth of experience as a creative producer working in music, film and advertising. Bringing this together with technology, her business at Third Horizon is all about empowering those with a creative vision to share it in a whole new way. And along that journey, Lucy has learnt to have real conviction in what it is that she knows. Lucy was delighted to be nominated in the top 10 with a commendation for the NatWest and Telegraph 100 Female Founders to Watch list. It's amazing to have you here, Lucy. How are you doing?
I am good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great, thank you. And a big congratulations to you. How did it feel to be nominated in the top 10 for the Female Founders to Watch list? And what have been some of the highlights?
It was amazing. Honestly, it really made me kind of step into my confidence even more. Um, and I think I was at Training SmartCon conference at the time as well, and I was just meeting loads of kind of tech founders and developers and people that are intensely clever but not weren't necessarily my initial world, and it just gave me that even more boldness, confidence that I'm exactly where I needed to be. So yeah, it was great. And then highlights. Well, there's been some really great programs that they've put on. So, for example, we had a dinner at Coots that was really interesting, and Karen Hunton was there as well, who's I think she sold Top Table to Open Table, various other business moves, and just meeting inspiring women that show you it's possible, have great stories, give you great advice. Yeah, meeting Alison Rose. Alison's put me in a great conversation as well, so hopefully something will come up from that. And yeah, just the programs that have been happening. The Coots have provided business mentorship as well, so I have a amazing advisor, Claire Foy from Coots. And so yeah, that's I guess a lot of the highlights.
Yeah, and it sounds like you've got real connection between all of the women that were in that list as well, which is power in itself, isn't it?
Definitely. We've actually got a WhatsApp group chat, so it's not really nice seeing how everyone's doing and seeing everyone's journeys and just seeing everyone win together.
Yeah, brilliant, brilliant. Now, you didn't start your career in the tech world. You worked as a creative producer in, music, video, and all sorts of amazing industries. What have been some of the exciting projects that you've worked on in the past?
So my favorite project was for Charlie XCX. So I was the creative commissioner, which is kind of like a creative director, producer, and I worked alongside Charlie, and we had a co-director called Sarah McColgan as well. It was over 16 shoot days. We shot at Coachella. There were 75 male celebrities. Shot at places like Joe Jonas's house, and it was just really fun, and it was really empowering. The messaging behind the shoot was incredible. It was all about flipping the male gaze and things that women are meant to be seductively doing and stuff like that in videos or magazine shoots and stuff and things. We were doing that with male talent.
Yeah.
And it was just, yeah, it was really like, I loved the messaging. It was everywhere. It was on a lot of front covers. And yeah, it was just a great team. Charlie's amazing to work with. So Sarah, they both have incredible vision, and I just love the tightness of the team. And also Atlantic, the president there now, Ed Howard, was hugely involved in like bringing people together. And yeah, I made a great contact list from there. This was actually before I moved to LA, and I was kind of traveling there and back a lot. So it kind of, I guess, set the foundations up for my move now. And then my other favorite shoot was ASAP Rocky, Skepta, and ASAP Nast. So that was for Money Man. That was a crazy shoot. I learned so much. It was basically a 3-day shoot produced in 2 days with over 100 crew and over 100 cast. And it was
Yeah.
insane, but the product is amazing. It was directed by Dexter Navy. And yeah, really enjoyed it. Most stressful time of my life. I think I was dreaming for a week later, waking up, getting dressed, thinking that I've got extras in my room, but it was worth it.
Brilliant. And with the Charlie XCX, what kind of things did you have the men doing that us women are seen as doing
So it
or
would
should be
be
doing?
stuff like, yeah, seductively eating. There was like Diplo, I think he was surrounded with puppies and just trying to look like cute and stuff like that. Um, what else did we have? We had the Fat Jew in a paddling pool, which was quite interesting. You should definitely go and check it out if you haven't seen it, because there's some gold moments in there for sure.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to do that. It's yeah, it's payback. You guys can do it instead.
Literally.
Amazing. Now, your business at Soga World and Third Horizon is using leading technology. What is Web3 and the blockchain? Can you educate us a little bit?
Of course. So I think to understand Web3 and blockchain, you need to understand what Web 1, Web 2, and Web 3 comes from, I suppose. So Web 1 is the first stages of the internet. That's when we were able to log on, we were able to read information. Web 2 is when social media came in and we started to be able to interact with each other, upload content and things like that. And then Web 3 is the exchange of value. So that's where you've got like cryptocurrencies coming in and stuff like that. The term NFT is probably the worst term anyone has ever coined anything, because you've got this new tech, which is kind of complicated, and then you've chosen a name that no one really knew what fungible meant anyway. So it stands for non-fungible tokens. Fungible essentially means that sticks in value. So a pound is going to be a pound to any person in a shop that you're using that pound with. But if it's fungible, if it's non-fungible, it's basically saying that you're assigning the value to it. So if you're a big fan of, I don't know, Snoop Dogg, you might think his NFT is worth millions. If you're not, you might kind of assign it as something like $1.
Okay.
So it stands for non-fungible tokens, but what you should really call it is digital collectibles, and make it nice and easily accessible. I think the best way to relate to what blockchain is and Web 3 is how it can relate to real life and what it can do that works on a better level. So, for example, imagine right now, right, with governmental processes, you've got to upload all these different docs, you've got so much forms of verification. If you had one NFT which had all of your information in, they're called soul-bound tokens, you could literally just be uploading that, and that's your verification process done. Yeah. For example, there's tokens that say, you've got like my fitness pal and things like that that's counting your steps, or even the Apple Health Tracker.
Yeah.
There's a coin called sweat coin. So you could be walking around and you could be accumulating coins that you can then buy crypto with, you can donate to causes, and you earn real money for doing an action that you would be, or it's making you healthier essentially. So it's using these kind of things. Another amazing case study is World Mobile. So they typical phone providers like AT&T, T-Mobile and stuff like that, they haven't gone to emerging and developing countries. So when you've got villages in, say, whether that's in Indonesia, whether that's in Africa, Latin America, anything like that, they're not connected to the world. So they've come in and they've got the community coming together. They're running nodes. They now have power. They have connectivity to the world, and they're doing trade throughout the world, which is obviously making the economy so much stronger there. Yeah. So you've got like all these really empowering community things. Even with Music Coin, you essentially, anyone that's on a blockchain, you're getting paid as and when people are listening to your music, whereas in a typical musical sense, you can get left out completely. There's no transparency, or it takes every 3 months is when you get paid. So it's just making these processes better. loyalty reward programs, bringing the community together. The community can drive a brand as one. They can be referring people. They can be rewarded for that. Their tokens in will go up in value. The more people that are being onboarded, the more interactivity there is, and everyone can just win together and own things together. And I think that for me is really key.
Yeah. And do you think that's really going to change things in the next kind of 5 years?
Yes. So I think like if you look at, I don't think it's going to be talked about though. I think like if you, for example, I don't ever go, I'm going to go on the World Wide Web now. We just know it's the internet. So I'm just going to go and do my, like, whatever my actions are. I think Web3 is at that point where everyone wants to talk about it and they're not focusing on what the actual action is or the utility. So people are getting thrown, they're thinking, oh, it's a scam or it's too difficult to enter. I'm not smart enough to enter and things like that. Whereas realistically, the winners in this space are going to be doing things that essentially is using the tech but not speaking about it. So in my agency, we've got something called IRL to URL. So everyone understands in real life experiences, right? And it's putting them on chain. So what can we do? What events can we do? What things like that can we sync to? Can we use NFT ticketing where you can go in and just use a credit card? You don't need to know it's blockchain. But what you do benefit from is if you saw Taylor Swift, her concert tickets were 25,000 the other day. So if you have NFT ticketing, what that does is it caps the price for the fan, and the artist benefits is on every extra sale because at the moment they don't.
Okay.
So you've eliminated the ticket tout that's making all of that money, and you've kept this authenticity within connectivity to the talent.
Yeah, amazing. So more of a direct link there as well, protecting the artist and the consumer, which is
exactly. And then you've got their wallet addresses as well, so you can airdrop them certain benefits and reward them for being fans. So yeah, there's a lot to it that's great. But I think we need to stop talking about NFTs, metaverse, and just use the case studies and get people integrated in a organic way.
Yeah, brilliant. And thank you for your explanation. You should definitely teach it to other people because I think you explain it in a way that people can really understand. So thank you so much. Now, how did your creative production work become linked up with the tech world, and how did you spot a gap in the market with, music and sports and things like that your business supports?
I am very gut feeling orientated and spiritually guided, so to speak. But over the pandemic, where I kind of went from running a label under Warner and doing music video production, where there was no shoots and it was very difficult to be doing things. So I had to be a bit more open on what I was doing. So one of my or two of my good friends, they have an agency called Bay Agency. They were producing this AJ Tracy flu game campaign, which is an All Stars basketball campaign. So I co-produced that with them. And my previous co-founder basically hit me up and was just like, oh, that should have been an NFT. And I was just like, what are you talking about? So we got on a call and he just told me this is what it is, blah, blah, blah. And I just knew no one was doing it at the time. And particularly no one that there was obviously people doing it, but not people in the entertainment industry so much. Yeah. And there's a huge gap between the tech world and understanding the entertainment world, because a lot of the platforms that you'll see, they're just doing aesthetic things with artists. They're not doing things that are actually meaningful change that we need in the music industry. So, and a lot of artists don't trust them. And in entertainment, you kind of have to be in the industry to be trusted to do these deals or get these the artist's attention to want to know what an NFT is.
Yeah, so and the entertainment industry really suffered in the pandemic, didn't they? And it wasn't really
exactly
overly discussed or mentioned.
Exactly. Yeah, so I think there was a lot of opportunity to, okay, cool, what's other streams of income? People were hearing the term NFT, they were like, okay, cool, how can I get involved? We had all the relationships, so I'd literally just line up all these calls with artists. They were really interested, they were really keen. We just started coming up with these campaigns, winning business. And then it just started expanding to different markets, and that was, I can only really put that down to like gut intuition and like spiritual alignment, to be completely honest, because I'm working in industries now that I didn't have contacts in, wouldn't have really thought to go into, but these opportunities have come up from case studies that we've been doing, and relationships that we've made, and things like that. So yeah, it's really exciting. There's definitely a need for it. And yeah, that's, I guess, how it's all come together.
Beautiful. And I'm going to ask you more about the spiritual alignment piece in a minute. But what really struck me as well is that both the music, production industry in particular, and the tech world are still quite male dominated. What have you personally had to overcome to be the woman who's really stood and is continuing to stand in her convictions in both of those industries and really bringing those industries together?
I mean, I was very fortunate in the music production side, to be the person hiring. So I would always hire females or minorities, and I understood that 80% of directors were white male. And I would, if you look at my portfolio, you won't see me using many white men. No offense to them, but I think there's enough talent that needs more championing. But yeah, so essentially things that I've kind of overcome, it's more set around my confidence, to be honest. So like when I think what I noticed was when I went to therapy, I was much more unapologetic. I wasn't as much of a people pleaser. And therefore, I started to believe that I had everything I needed and that my opinion was valid. And I'd be much more outspoken, and my creativity completely flourished from that. And so did my confidence. So I think self-development is a huge key, like probably the biggest key, probably in any industry, to be honest. Because from that comes confidence, and then from confidence comes being able to be in whatever room and just being able to own the conversations that you're having and not feeling like an alien. So, for example, I was at Chainlink SmartCon, which is a crypto conference full of developers, and I was also at Money 2020, which is a fintech conference. And both of those aren't necessarily my world or expertise, but instead of being like daunted by that, what I tried to do is own my uniqueness in that space. So not many people work in entertainment there, so I can provide a completely different perspective. So I started having these, like, I'd go to these events on my own. At Money 2020, I knew absolutely no one. And I'd force myself to just go up to people and just have conversations and just talk to them and make these connections. And I just became really confident in knowing that actually I can be in whatever room and I can get something out of it. And I'm not like useless in a scenario where I can't talk developer talk and things like that. So yeah, I guess there's some of the things I've had to overcome. And I would just highly like advocate for, if you haven't gone to therapy and you're feeling like you need more confidence, like literally go to therapy, read, do self-development. There's so much like different books and stuff, like even like I'm reading Atomic Habits right now, which is great, or The Monk That Sold His Ferrari. They just really help to kind of add these other levels to your daily life that complement your working life.
Yeah, absolutely. And why do you think it's so important that we as women have conviction in what we know and own those opinions?
I think if we didn't, we'd so if you look throughout history, it's very white male dominated in the voice of a lot of what has happened. And yeah, I think if we don't have conviction, we don't take ownership on what is to come and what our future children and our future selves are going into. I think we're just as important. I think it's important to have voices of every gender, of every race, representing the world. So yeah, I think it is incredibly important.
Yeah, and I think you've really, explained well in terms of, having therapy, reading books, doing the deeper work really helps us, I call it self-securitize, and like put roots in our foundation of who it is that we are, and to really lead from that space, which is, a real power. Is there any other like deeper and spiritual visionary work that you've undertaken that's helped you?
I mean, like I love breath work. I think that just gets me, my headspace is a lot more creative and focused. I've actually done random things like altered states within dreaming, so lucid dreaming. I actually heard Ariana Huffington talk about that on a podcast, and I really resonate with that, because when you tap into your altered states and you're able to dream solutions and things like that. I mean, I think it was so Robbie Williams, I think he wrote Angels to a Dream. I think John Lennon wrote something as well. I feel like electricity came to can't think who the creator is right now, but him in a dream.
Tesla had something to do with it. Tesla
Yes.
worked with Edison. Was it Edison?
Yeah.
Light
And I
bulb.
think the light bulb came to Tessa in a dream. So I think there's all these like these spiritual kind of use cases that might feel airy fairy, but actually when you tap into it, I was literally dreaming of things that would then come true the next week or be the solution to what I needed.
Yeah.
So the more aligned I became, the more breathwork, the more meditation, yoga, and things like that. Not only was I a more like gathered individual in daily life, I suppose, but I was actually really benefiting from it. And I'm a huge advocate of like exercising as well, and just making sure that you are healthy in all aspects.
Yeah, that is that that cohesiveness, that coherence, and just trusting that there is kind of more to life and business that meets the eye, and there are different dimensions that we can access beyond the basic. It's definitely, and I know many of the listeners at She Rebel really understand that at a deep level. Do you have any other top tips for our listeners to embrace their conviction and confidence as women leaders in 2023?
I guess put yourself first. I think as women, we are people pleasers. We're trying to keep everyone happy, not to like tarnish everyone with the same brush. But I know a lot of women that kind of they'll be at their own detriment sometimes. And specifically in entrepreneurship, I think sometimes we have to make those decisions, the tough decisions that do put ourselves first. And yeah, I think so. Owning that.
Yeah.
What other tips do I have? Yeah, just better your education. So whether that is going to galleries, whether that's going to do things that you weren't initially thinking of, going to networking events in fields that you weren't necessarily knowing too much about, reading, watching documentaries. I've actually had a lot of conversations with VCs and connected with them on really random subjects, like whether that is like mushrooms or how trees communicate or
Yeah.
things like that, and they remember you from that. So I think like the more you can expand your knowledge and kind of talk about out of the box things that they don't usually get spoken to about, you become more memorable and you form these better relationships that when you might be looking for funding and stuff like that, it then becomes so much easier for you. So yeah, I'd say
That's
they're
a
probably
great
my top tips.
Yeah, it's a great tip if you're not necessarily talking about the thing that you might think you're talking about. You're talking about something of real interest, and that really galvanizes, personality, and a memorable conversation is really important. And I think, sometimes again, women can be like, oh, I've got to try and remember the thing that I'm supposed to talk about, instead of just, talking about whatever, trusting what unfolds. Now, what 3 things are you going to be embracing this year?
So my biggest thing is learning how to say no. I think I sometimes, from being in a production background, you learn to spin multiple plates at once. And I think when I'm doing my own business and kind of being in the first few years, I just want to focus specifically on certain things and certain projects and things I need to do and not overwhelm myself.
Yeah.
So learning to say no, not being as much of a people pleaser. Scaling our agency out. So my thing right now is teaching myself how to recruit people, to keep them all in the same vision and perspective, and get like the right team on board that understand the vision. And I think like my other big thing is building a tech product for clients that essentially onboards people into Web3 organically and is able to be mass adopted. So yeah, I think they're my 3 things.
Exciting. And what else is next for you, and where can we find you, Lucy?
So I've got a lot of big things coming, but they're all under an NDA. So I would say the best thing to do is follow me on Instagram or LinkedIn. My Instagram is lucylorna_x. My website, which is being launched at the moment, so hopefully by the time this comes up, it will be live. But if not, go on my Instagram, it will come up. But thirdhorizon.io. So just completely spout out. And yeah, just getting people onboarded into Web3 organically, I suppose. That's my mission.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your convictions and confidence with us, Lucy. It's been amazing to have you on She Rebel.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
You've been listening to She Rebel Radio. We thank you for listening and thank our headline partners, NatWest, for sponsoring this series. If this episode has inspired you, please pass it on and share with at least one other incredible woman. And don't forget to hit subscribe and leave us a review. You can find out more about me and my work at luluminns.com or on most social media platforms.